I'm joined now by Anthony Cunningham, Roscommon football manager but former Galway hurling manager, to talk about the final in Galway between St Thomas, your native club, and Turlough Moore. Delighted to see St Thomas is back there again, pushing for the three in a row.
Yeah, I think a three in a row for clubs are a huge thing, and you remember then when we were probably all gone and forgot about, and you always think of the three in a row teams, and I think Portumna, were the big team in previous years that had reached that. So yeah, I mean, Turlough Moore would have reached, and there was a famed team in the 60s, and they won five in a row, and that was always talked about when I was growing up, that this was a serious 60s team of old guys you'd be talking about, saying, and these are the great teams. So Thomas's will want to win three in a row for sure, but it's not going to be easy. Turlough Moore, they've thrown everything at the preparation, not just this year, but for the last 5 or 6 years. So they'll leave no stone unturned to try and win this match.
Yeah, and I was looking at an article from, I think, 2012, and you were talking about how you, like, in your playing time, we never managed to reach a final. The closest we came, we were beaten in a county semi-final by a good Athenry team that went on to win the All-Ireland title. How close did you feel you were as a team to winning in your day?
I mean, talent-wise or numbers-wise, we wouldn't have anywhere near what's there, to be honest. But yeah, look, we were competitive. We won two intermediates. We actually got relegated, went down, came back up, went down again, won, came back up, and they're senior sen. So we were always senior practically. But there was the mighty Athenry team, as you've referenced, in latter years. Then there was the Portumna teams. Cork were very strong as well in those years. Castlegar before me, they've won an Ireland back in 1980. So, it was very, very competitive, as it is now. So, for us, it was, we were competitive, but nothing like the talent that the players have now. And, if you look at this team and even look at it 3 years ago, they've evolved, and there's quite a lot of new players. The management have done very, very well in blooding new players. Like you've 4 or 5 new players: John Head, Keane Mahoney, Justin Flannery has come in there now and is a top forward for them, as an example. So seamlessly they've done that as well. So they kept the thing fresh, very, very fresh. Fintan Buck's kind of fullback. So they've really, Shane Cooney had become their top man now at centre back. So yeah, again, over those 3 years, they've kept the team very, very fresh.
And just to refresh on the semi-final results, St Thomas's beat Capitagle 115 to 17 points. Just, more misery for Capitagle 4 years in a row. I think by an aggregate of 6 points, they've lost their semi-finals. And then Turlough Moore on the other side beat Loughrea by a goal, 217 to 17 points. The way Thomas's have obviously had their semi-final was pushed back a week because of a COVID case. In your experience managing teams, does having 1 week more or less than the other team to prepare make too much of a difference when it gets to the day itself?
I think this time of the year doesn't make a whole pile of difference. You're resting in between. A lot of them are going Sunday and Sunday. I'd say it was probably more difficult for Thomas's in that it was a COVID case, and everyone's fine. Jared Kelly goes fine, whatever. So they definitely, it would have been a slight distraction and a bit of nervousness there because, unfortunately, of COVID. So they'd have been delighted. Kevin Lally and TJ Ryan and the backroom team would have been delighted to get over last Sunday. There isn't a whole pile this time of the year you can do training wise, so they've done a lot of work. So you just like the matches to come Sunday on Sunday. It'll probably be a small plus to Turlough Moore that they got a rest last week. So Thomas's again have to go back out against another Sunday. Mentally, I think it's more difficult than physically. Just you would be tired if you were playing a quarter-final into a semi-final. But I think most teams, when they get to a final, there's no problem with that, and I'm getting motivated for that, for sure.
Yeah, there's a very strong spine to this Turlough Moore team. Ronan Burke, who you probably had a full back, I think, during your Galway era. Jamie Holland centre back. Loftus and Kevin Hussey either side of him. Conor Walsh centre forward seems to have really stepped up. Sean Lennon as well. So, for those outside Galway who wouldn't know Turlough Moore that well, they really do have a strong team.
Yeah, start there. Ronan Burke was on the Galway senior panel for analyses for many years. It was just really on hard luck. Really could get in, or was very pressed very, very hard at fullback. Won an All Ireland under 21 with us. Back in 2011. So he's there quite a while, but has a huge amount of experience. And everyone knows Dahi and how good of a hurler and such a leader he is. But Jamie Holland is centre backs, probably one of the most stylish centre backs club wise in the county. As you said, Sean Linan, Loftus, these guys are really top class players. Dara Welsh. He's really a big prospect for them and leading the charge as centre forward. Has captained, as has Sean Linan, an under 14 team that have won Vela and Christy Ring. So underage Turlough Moore have been prominent and hugely prominent. They've won 2 Velas. There have been multiple county under 14, under 16 and minor champions over the years. But they've really tried everything. If you go down through their list of managers they've had over the years, Neil Dunno managed them. I think previously Matty Murphy, Tony Considine, James Horton and Mayo. So they really invested heavily and got the best guys that were available to push on the club. But Joe Hession has been the manager and has been around a lot of the management teams. So they will lack nothing in preparation.
Do you think
Franny Ford would be the other guy that coaching wise for most of these guys will have gone through Franny Ford's hands. So he's top class coach, and they know Cyril Donlan in there. So they have with Joe Hession. So they have a lot of expertise and a lot of coaching over the years put through these young players' hands.
For Turlough Moore, I think they're the joint 4th most successful club in the county in terms of titles, but 30 years since they even got to a final. Do you ever think, in recent years, was it just kind of, I've seen this with Borrisoleigh, like the team that had won in 87 and all that, it was always tough for the teams coming afterwards to emulate it, and maybe that was kind of a millstone around their neck. For Turlough Moore, it feels like for a few years, we keep hearing, when are they coming, when are they going to come, they've all these unreal players. Did that hold them back at all? Is it time now?
Yeah, I'd say it did. I'd say there was a lot of pressure internally from the club. There was a lot of expectation there, and a huge following. And they're just really hurling mad, really into their hurling. And there would have been a lot of pressure. Okay, Martin Naughton back in the day would have been the big player, and the Burkes and the Hollands. You are right in saying that there was a lot of pressure there, and it just didn't happen for them. And it went many years, they went from the 60s really up to 1980, I think, which is a huge gap. And they've gone from that to now, which is another huge gap. Mind you, if they win this one, they could be there for a very long time. But if they don't, it will be a setback. But you are right, that happens in clubs. It was a big expectation, and eventually that gets through to club players.
Yeah, and so Dahi Burke is playing midfield alongside Fergal Moore, 2 lads who have played in the full back line for Galway more often than not. Now you had Dahi Burke at wing back, I think, during your tenure, if I'm right in saying. Do you see him having the qualities to play midfield or being excellent at midfield, both at club and county level?
He actually finished up at full forward in the semi-final against Loughrea and scored. Made a huge, a tremendous pass for a goal. So, I mean, he's an exceptional player any place. And if they need a score or need a goal, you'll see Dahi being pushed up. There's no doubt about that. You'd one. If they're in trouble at full back, they'll pop him back there, or at centre back. But both himself and Fergal Moore have gone well for them. But Dahi can play any place. And they'll need a huge game from Dahi. But there's no better man to deliver. You'd have always thought if we had the freedom in Galway, we'd have liked to have let him out the field probably a bit more. But we needed a full back, and he blossomed there. But earlier days half back line, he just could play any place, and tremendous athlete. But a lot don't understand that his skill level is extremely high. His touch is top class, and his vision on the pitch. Even helped by the football side, I would say. So he's huge all rounder.
Yeah, and then Fintan Burke has been playing full back for St Thomas's. So part of me is wondering, could Shane O'Neill be looking at the idea of full back Fintan Burke this year, try it out, or would you need a few games to really try that out? could you just go straight into Wexford semi-final and just say, let's move everything around here?
I think it would be a big call to play Fenton a fullback against Wexford. It would have been nice to play them in 2 or 3 league matches or a league semi-final or final if there was one to see how he go, and you do that during the league. To be fair to the young man, but he's a tremendous asset to go hurling, and is going to be a standout defender for them for the next number of years. Injury free, like he's come in off a cruciate. You wouldn't even think that the way he's playing. He's a tremendous player and great bloodline there in the Burks, and his father was played with me club hurling. Brilliant player. Always had talent, and he's really. I won't say solid abroad for Thomas's, but if you could pick a hole in Thomas's over the years, you might say, their full back line might leak a goal, or against Ballyhale a couple of years ago in St Patrick's Day, they finally got through for a number of goals. So he has definitely, he has stopped all of that single-handedly, really, and a brilliant player to have, and a prospect for O'Neill, definitely for the championship ahead. You'd definitely love to see him playing against Wexford.
I'd say nearly every player in St Thomas's from 8 forward has inter-county experience from minor onwards. I mean, the amount of different quality players that Turlough Moore is going to have to shut down, it's fairly vast. But then again, they have an awful lot of quality themselves, and I named that half backline, for example, already.
Like if you take the younger players, Oisin Flannery, Evan Duggan had done and won with Galway minors, and there are only new players coming through. John Head was on a panels as well. So even the newer players, not to mention like Gaina Burke, for many years, stars at minor and under 21 level coming through. So there's talent right through for Thomas's, and they're like that. I mean, leaving aside all the household names, Connor, Coonies, and Davy Burke, and Dara now who's moved to full forward, was a handful for anyone, and is continuously scoring a goal and a couple of points per match. They're extremely hard to hold, and in any one position they'll score from anywhere. So that's the real challenge for the Turlough Moore defence. Linan, Loftus, Holland will really, they'll really need to be the top of the game. If it's a tight game like that, and you have 6 forwards can score anywhere, as you said, Shane, that would be the point that you'd say they probably 6 forwards would age the 6 forwards for Turlough marginally.
Are there any matchups you're looking forward to? Because I'm even thinking about midfield, and Davy Burke's a guy you always want to tie down if you're playing against St Thomas's. Probably unlikely you'd put Fergal Moore on him, or to try and shut him down, because obviously he's a bit more advanced in years, and maybe he probably sits at the base of midfield. Then again, do you want to put Dahi Burke on him and lose what you might get going in the other direction? Even Kevin Hussey, would you say let's move him up further up the field and just tell him, just mark him or something?
Yeah, they could do a man-marking job from early on. David has gone to wing forward as well in quite a few matches. In second half, or if Thomas has wanted to change it around a bit. They may also drop Fergal Moore or a player. They may also drop a defensive midfielder and play. They have played at times in the championship with 7 with a sweeper. So I think early on they'll try and keep it as tight and as defensive as possible. They definitely could target the likes of Dahi to pick up David Burke at midfield from the start. It definitely, if there was a man-marking job on that, I would say they could sacrifice Dahi but then there are other players that'll carry the mantle there for Thomas's. So that's a difficult one, but I would say Thomas is more balanced, but the fact that the hunger and the fact that they have, and that's what's driving Turlough Moore, and now they're in their first final in quite a long time. They'll on the hunger stakes they'll edge that. On the experience stakes, or the being more even as a team, I think Thomas has edged that. So right in the matchups critical, but I think Dahi Burke could be, if they are to pop a guy on David, it would be Dahi.
Oh, okay. So, like you're based there in Roscommon, and you would have seen a young St Bridget's team come, I suppose, more or less come out of nowhere to beat Park Pierce's and win that county title recently. Does a team like in their case, it's a young team, probably a lot of them not used to the occasion of a county final. All of the Turlough Moore team, this is all new to them as well. Do you think the fact that there are no massive crowds there, that kind of is somewhat helpful to the likes of Turlough Moore, whereas St Thomas's, they're very much used to this?
Yeah, that's a comment as well that the Bridges management have made during the year, that they got to play the matches. They were like going playing challenge matches for a huge amount of the matches. There was very little interference or very little talk with the players, or nobody clapping them on the back. Sometimes clubs get carried away and they'll be telling the player after a group match or a quarter-final or semi-final. That's the other side. But when the matches were over, everybody went home. There was no gatherings, and that was a big plus to a young team like St Bridget's. Had 2 minors on it, but they just played away for fun, really. Great way to be, and the year that was in it with less expectation, lower crowds, and very little interference definitely helped them. There's no doubt about that. I would imagine that will help Turlough Moore in a way as well, because they'll come in a bit of a quieter, calmer atmosphere than they normally would. They're probably one of the best supported teams in the county. So if it was normal times, then Kenny Park there on Sunday, they'd fill it on their own. They have very passionate supporters and followers, and that might be a blessing to Joe Hessian and the Turlough boys. That'll be a bit more calm for them.
Mm. So I mean, you've managed a team to get to a Club All Ireland before, so you know the value of the club there with Gary Castle, for example, back in 2012, if I remember correctly. Would you like to see? I mean, there's been talk of it in the last few days. Plenty of club managers have come out and said it. Davy Fitz has even said it, like that the club championships might be played once the inter-county season is over, because we've had 50 years of All Ireland club championships, and as things stand, they're not going to be played this year.
Yeah, I know. Locally here has big news since Corofin got beaten there on Sunday. There'd be a big St Bridges and Corofin rivalry, and everybody you meet at the shop or out and about saying, God, it's a pity we don't have a Connacht championship and on the football side, because it would be a massive experience as well for a team like St Bridges coming through. But yes, if they could have fitted it in and played it, over 2 or 3 weekends pretty shortly, I think that would have been a benefit, or even to play it next January or February. And I think players and teams have got used to results on a day, which is a big plus. If it's a draw, extra time, if there's penalties, whatever. And played it off quite quickly. It would be a lovely thing to see there, even if it was next January, February. I know it's times are difficult for everybody and for the association to run all the games, but the club. For everybody, if there's just followers like me across the different counties there, you'd love to see it for sure. And you'd love to see, with Ballyhay come, with Coola, for example. That would be a big crunch match, you'd imagine, in Leinster. You'd definitely like to see Six Mile Bridge up against the Waterford champions, if they got to that, or even there's a lot of promise now with Killadangan and with the Cork champions. So look at no doubt, and I definitely say St Thomas's or Turlough Moore would love a crack as well. So hard to call what would be the Galway football champions, but definitely both hurling and football would be super.
And just then St Thomas's and Turlough Moore, I'm sure the heart is leading towards Thomas's, but if you were to call it, are you going to lean with them because of the experience?
Yeah, I think experience. So it's hard enough to weigh it up. So experience definitely. They're a very, very even team. Someone has an off day, someone always stands up, another person will come through. I think they can get scores very easily. Their forwards are very, very, everybody's able to score. Whereas tie down the likes of Dara Walsh, Turlough Moore, you might find it a small bit, if they're relying on Dahi to come up and score or make scores, it's going to be that bit tougher. Balance that with hunger, and balance also the fact that there is pressure on Turlough Moore to deliver. That's also a factor. There's huge expectation, and they've been trying so hard for so many years and have, they've thrown everything at getting to where they are next Sunday. from everything that they've won at underage right through, and all the work they've done has been targeted to win the senior title. So there is pressure on. Whereas St Thomas, I think, are well able to handle that. Having said all that, I think the slight advantage will be with St Thomas's. I hope so, but yeah, I'm not the one to be asked, because obviously St Thomas's fans, and supporter for and but I think the other point as well, like, no one will say a word to St Thomas if they don't win, because they've given such enjoyment to so many over the years now, and going for 3 in a row would be something special, and they'd always be remembered that bit higher within the county or within other counties. So there's that aspect as well. So for me, a slight I'd say, well, if we get over by a point again, we'd be delighted. And they've got through very narrow escapes with the likes against Capitagle. Turlough Moore as well in a year or two, a couple of years ago, would be very, very tight battles with Thomas's. So it will be no different.
We'll keep an eye out for that. So the Galway football final is on this weekend also. Moycullen, they beat Tuam Stars 3-14 to 1-15, and Mountbellew-Moylough sensationally beat Corofin 2-13 to 12 points as well. 49 games unbeaten Corofin were in the Galway Football Championship. People must have been absolutely sick of them, but what a result for Mountbellew-Moylough. And they've been close to them a couple of times over recent years, but just continue to get beaten by them, but they finally have the monkey off their back.
Yeah, 2 years ago, brought them to replay and was still very, very tight on that. But what a team. We'll never see the likes of this Corofin team again, I'm sure. Like we say that across many different counties, but 49 games for the 2012, I think, is the last time they were beaten in club. 2012, like it's 8 years ago plus.
You had just been appointed manager of Galway. It's that long ago.
yeah, you'd hardly remember back as far as 2012. So yeah, what a team, and what amount of players even since then that have come through, okay, maybe that 3 or 4 injuries coming into the game, but I mean, the players, if you look at it, the players they brought in, very, very strong as well. So a tremendous result for Mountbellew. I'm sure Val Daly and co in Mountbellew will be, chuffed and over the moon. They would have. It is a very, very strong, and an underage here in St Thomas over the years, we've always played them and played a lot of these players in tournaments and just down the road from us. So I know them well enough, but Val would be central to a huge amount of the work to be done there. So great for a club to get to a county final like Mountbellew-Moylough. So definitely they'll feel now with having won that they'll be the slight favourites to win that. But Mountbellew are a young team coming through, and will be very, very hard to beat, and it's anybody's game, I think.
Okay, well look, thank you very much for that, Anthony Cunningham. I'm sure we'll chat again very soon.
Okay, Shane, thank you. Bye.